All right, on our Focus Friday, guys are locked in. They're excited. There's an intensity about the group that I can feel from the guys, and it's a good thing. And it's a focus that I really appreciate, and the details that go into this day where we kind of tie the whole game plan in, first, second down, third down, and a little bit of red zone, all that, to be able to get that accomplished. And so I love where we're at, fired up for this weekend.
Is there something you feel on Fridays that you can kind of say, looking ahead to Sunday, that I feel like they're going to be ready, or that you're just not quite sure?
You know, as I've been in the NFL for 16 years, and we've had great Fridays and lost. We've had horrible Fridays and won. What I'm looking for is the focus. I'm looking for the intentionality to make sure that the guys are on the plan, and there are things that you still have to work through and make sure that we have communication about, just communication up front, on the offensive line sometimes with the run combo or different things like that, or the landmark for some of the red zone throws that you start to work on, and same thing on the defensive side. There are things you work through, but there's a focus that I'm looking for. The energy has to be right, and the energy was right today, and so I'm excited about that.
Did Trevin aggravate that earlier shoulder injury?
He did. Coming out of the game, just talking to him and trying to reevaluate him, each day to see if we can get him to do a little bit more, and we weren't able to get him to a point where we felt confident about putting him back out there right now.
Will Claude get the start?
Claude will, yes.
And what did you see out of today?
Icky was able to do more, so that was encouraging, and we're going to have to just keep evaluating him today and tomorrow. So he truly is in that day-to-day type of thing where we have to make sure that he's confident being able to execute all the things he has to at a tackle spot, in the run game on the backside, setting his passes and doing those things. So we'll keep working on Icky to see if we can get him out there.
Time decision? Or?
Probably, yeah.
With Turk out last week, kind of suddenly, how do you think Bobby Brown stepped in for him, and does his performance last week kind of give you confidence that he can do another good job this week? Yeah,
Bobby was disruptive last week. He was getting off of blocks really well, playing with his hands and playing big and athletic like he is, and was really fortunate to have him be able to step into that role.
And how important is it to have a disruptive defensive line against a rush offense that hasn't quite shown how great it could be, but as you know, can be quite dangerous?
Yeah, it's really important. And while we count on everybody, fitting their gaps and playing off of each other, it's when it starts up front and our big guys can disrupt blocks and free themselves up at times, to get a shoulder or get a hand on the running back to slow them down. It really does help the linebackers. And oftentimes, they end up making the play themselves. So really important.
Dave, Rico said the other day, or made the comment the other day, that when you're trying to run at Vita Vea, like you're running at a really large human, it's hard to run at him, it's hard to run away from him. Like, how much do you have to take just him into account when you're kind of scheming things up?
You really do. And, it's the big question is, do you run at or away? And because for as big as he is, he's a phenomenal athlete, and he's been playing football a long time, so he understands concepts. He understands how to get himself into position, and just like we were talking about with our defensive line, block disruption and trying to get off of those things is a really big part of what he does, and we're aware of that, and we have to be really disciplined about our pad level and our combos as we're working with him.
I know Pete's a guy, Carroll's a guy you call off and on during the season. Have you talked to him recently about what's ahead on a playoff run like this that you haven't been a part of as a head coach?
I have not.
Dave, T-Mac showed up on the injury report this week. He looks good?
He looks great. Yeah, had a great practice yesterday, came out, put another one together today. At this point in the season, the season gets really long, and we've used him a lot, and we've really counted on him. He's done an excellent job of being responsible with the roles that we've asked him of. And he's gotten a lot of mileage, and so at this point of the year, you start to look at those guys, and if you can give somebody, put a little bit more in the tank, and get him back out there. It worked out well for us, and he put 2 great days together.
We asked T-Mac, I think in late October, about the impact David Moore has had on this receiving room. And that was with David out, obviously, with an elbow injury. How will his role as a player hype man, as a team, I don't know, a coaching liaison, I don't know exactly how you'd say it, will his role expand, do you think, now that he's out there on the practice field and potentially playing this week?
He really is continuing to lead through this whole time, and handling his return to play, attacking that is really big for guys to see, like, this is how you go about it and get yourself ready, stay ready, and stay fit, especially when it's an upper body injury. You got to keep your legs right, and he looks fresh, but he sets the example really well for that group. And he's been connected with us the whole time, and he's been around talking to the guys, and I expect he'll continue to do that.
Dickey's knee is more of an issue going back in protection or going forward in run blocking.
Those are all the things that we got to figure out as far as making sure he can do his job.
Paul said something earlier today that Jason Pierre-Paul is somebody they could elevate this week. When it's somebody like that who's got a long resume but not much lately, how do you kind of account for that and prepare for it?
Really just kind of taking a look at his pass rush cut-ups from the past and just seeing what his primary, secondary moves are. So just being aware that he could be a guy that they use, and we got to be ready for that part. And, I think a guy in his position, he's played so much football. As long as his conditioning is in the right place, he's got a toolbox. He knows how to play the game. So that's something we'll be aware of.
How does your history with Todd kind of impact the chess match?
I just try to use the information that I was able to gather while we were there, while we were together. The good and the bad of that is, the good part is, I know what the package looks like. That's also the bad part, is you don't know which part of it you're going to get. And so there's a little bit of a chess match game that goes on that way, but we have to be aware that, we have to be aware of the areas and the D&Ds that he likes to try to bring pressure and the different coverage mixes. But if I get into a game where I'm chasing all of Todd's calls, that's going to make it for a really long day. I have to count on the things that we can execute, that we can play fast with first and foremost, so we can be really decisive. And that's what it's going to come down to, is just being decisive within the things that we can do well.
Dave, you had a couple guys signed off the practice squad to other teams this week. How does that kind of complicate the workflow during the week for you?
Yeah, we have to get people in there, especially to hold a great practice. DJ Dallas, loved the fact that he got an opportunity to go down to Jacksonville, a team that's doing really well, to be able to help help them in different ways. And but again, as soon as DJ goes out, we got to get another running back in here. Trey Tyus has done a fantastic job for us, but we can't expect him to carry the entire load for a practice. And then, on the flip side of it, Jeremiah Moon came off of really what I thought his best practice, as a Panther, a week before he gets claimed by the Pittsburgh Steelers. And a great opportunity for him as well, a team he's familiar with, an opportunity to go and play. We haven't had a chance to call him up at all this season. So I just wish those guys the best. But at the same time, we got to get guys out there to make sure they fill those roles so that we can have great practices.
What was watching Thursday Night Football like last night? It was a crazy game. Two teams that the Panthers, one is quite familiar with, one will be familiar with. What was that like, just seeing it?
It was just really exciting to see division opponents give everything they had, pull out all the stops, and find ways to play their best football. And it just goes to show you just don't make a judgment about the outcome of the game early on. Sam Darnold had a couple of interceptions early on, settled in, and had a phenomenal second half all the way through overtime. And so you just keep playing ball, and, there's something about teams that just find a way to win. And, the punt return for a touchdown was amazing. And, you flip on the other side and you look at the Rams, who really had a chance to control the game, or moving the ball so well, running the ball. Puka Nacua had a phenomenal day. All those things were working well. Two teams at their best. That's what you love to see. And, my takeaway is, I just want us to play at our best. I want to make sure that we put our best foot forward, especially in a division opponent with a division rivalry.